So you're looking to make a start in IT, or you already have made a start, and you're looking to work your way into a starting role in cybersecurity. In this video, we'll go over a few ways you can work towards this. I'm going to give you my advice for how I would make a start in IT in 2026. Now, it's not to say that any other way would be wrong, just my opinion of having done it. Regardless of the area of IT you'd like to move into, whether you have a specific area in mind or not, there's one role everyone should start with, and that's a service desk. This is where you learn the trade, where you first encounter a ticketing platform, and you learn to troubleshoot and interact with different departments, applications, and a wide range of IT areas and issues. Now, how do you go about getting a service desk role? Well, the answer is you go for a certification. This is a certification I'm recommending for anyone starting out on your IT journey. The CompTIA A+ is a widely recognised certification from a credible company. This is practically the service desk requirement at this stage. With this alone, it should be easy enough to walk into your first service desk role. The A+ covers multiple parts of IT. It consists of hardware, software, networking, basic troubleshooting, and security, as well as other areas. The exam consists of multiple choice questions for those that don't like writing things out. Once you've passed this, you're ready for your first service desk role. A lot of entry roles have this as the only requirement. If you want excellent material for the exam, I'd highly recommend Professor Messer on YouTube. His courses are second to none, and he has mock exams as well to practice. His material was a major help for me. Now let's talk about a service desk role. On the screen you'll see an example of a traditional ticket. The role of the service desk is to input relevant information relating to an issue. You may be taking the information from a phone call, in person, or something you've seen yourself. Then, dependent on the company service desk, your job might be to use this information to establish a cause and rectify the issue. Or you may have to escalate the ticket to the relevant team to investigate and fix it. Now, each service desk is different. I'll touch on my own experience to give you some examples. Now, when I started my IT journey, I went to a service desk that was quite mature. What I mean when I say this is I had separate levels of the service desk already established. I started off at level 1, what some might call log and flog. My job was to handle 2 web chats at a time frame of 7 minutes each, take the information down, pass it on. I was extremely limited on what I was allowed to do. I would take the information down to the problem and more often than not just pass it straight to the level 2 service desk team. Now, the level 2 team might have slightly more permissions, but they may be not as senior. There could be a level 3 team that might have admin permissions for performing fixes if required. This is an example, of course, and each service desk differs. Now, for me personally, I want to be more hands-on and learn, rather than passing on information. When I reached out to the subject matter expert at the time, I asked how could I resolve some of these issues, so I was more proactive. I was told to stay in my lane and just do my job. Now, for me personally, this type of role didn't appeal to me, and ultimately made it an easy decision to leave. Now, was it a waste of time? Well, no, because it gave me an experience and an insight into my first ticketing platform called ServiceNow. This role, even if limited, gave me service desk experience, which helped me secure my second job, which ultimately gave me the foothold I was looking for in IT. Now, my second role was in what I would call an immature service desk. There was no tiers in the service desk. A ticket would be raised and ultimately it was up to us to resolve the incident to the best of our ability before we passed it on to maybe an infrastructure team, a network team, or maybe a security team. We were encouraged to investigate and troubleshoot as best as we could. I would say that this role helped me grow more than ever. Being given the freedom to investigate and deep dive issues, it gave me an insight into many problems and expanded my way of troubleshooting. Now, we weren't alone and we could reach out to other teams for help. I was thankful to work with an amazing group of people that gave me the time of day to teach me and help me understand the problems and how things worked. Now to some this type of role might sound scary, understandably so, but I would 100% encourage people to go for these types of service desk roles. All experience matters and can be helpful, but I wouldn't recommend staying in a level 1 job for too long. You're not getting hands-on experience or you're looking to advance. Try to look for the roles that want you to grow and have advancement opportunities if possible. Now I realise some people will be happy with just a level 1 role, and to that I say fair enough, each to their own. We all look for something different in life. Now let me give you some advice that you should take with you whatever you do in life, not just your job. Get used to being uncomfortable. We don't grow in our comfort zones. When things are easy and you've seen the same thing day in, day out, you're not expanding your skill set or your mindset. Thing is, we're not born knowing everything. You have to learn and push yourself. Don't be afraid to say you don't know, as long as you're doing something. Try to change that. Now I worked on a service desk where people would jump on the password reset tickets raised. This was because it was an easy win, and ultimately it was a nice easy close for them. People would be too afraid to take on tickets that they weren't familiar with, because it just sounded complex, which meant these tickets were left relatively untouched by the majority. For me, I'd take the more complex issues any day, because it made me investigate and understand to a higher degree, and it gave me new challenges to rise above. Now I get it can be scary and there's a pressure sometimes to get things fixed within a time frame, but honestly, the sooner you get used to handling pressure, the more effective you'll become. Also, don't be afraid to reach out and pick the brain of someone more experienced than yourself. Passing down knowledge could be something we all strive to do. When you learn something, try to aim to create or add to the knowledge base for either yourself or others to pass on. You'll be surprised at how a lot of companies don't have a working knowledge base that would save time on people fixing repeat issues. I wouldn't be in the position I am today if it hadn't been for the people that took the time to teach me and help me grow and understand. If you're looking to move into cybersecurity or networking, or any other areas for that matter, I'd suggest reaching out to that team and asking if you could possibly shadow them, or ask questions. Being inquisitive and having that motivation makes all the difference. Networking will get you far. The IT community are amazing. I've reached out to others at times, and people have reached out to me on LinkedIn and they've emailed me as well. I've always found people will take the time for each other in this community. When you do go for your service desk role, one vital skill that everyone needs is the ability to troubleshoot. Everyone has their own way of troubleshooting and investigating. In the interview, you're more than likely going to be asked the question, someone's having an issue with their email or some application. How would you investigate this? Now, they're going to expect you to ask questions such as, what application is it? What happens when you use it? Do you get any error messages? How long has this been happening for? All brilliant questions and all have their purpose. But there's one question that I've seen firsthand many people forget to ask that would save them time and effort. That question is, does anyone else have this issue? Such a simple question that could completely change the outcome of your action. This goes from us thinking maybe this user's changed something, possibly us realising it's unlikely that the entire building of people have changed the same thing that we would have assumed for this user. It might have been some setting an admin has changed, or a new update that's caused an issue. If we looked at it as an individual issue, this might take some time before we even realised. In my time at the service desk, this question was more often than not overlooked. It's always good to use a mixture of open and closed questions. There are times when a simple yes or no will help, but sometimes we need more information from the users. It's also important that we're familiar with other key information, such as common port numbers and their function. For instance, you'd be expected to know common ports, such as port 80, 443, 53, 3389. You can find a list of common ports on the website shown on screen. Make sure you know the difference between DHCP and DNS. Don't be like me when I absolutely fumbled this in an interview, although thankfully I corrected it later on when I calmed down enough to realise. God, I hate interviews. Speaking of your interview, if your CV is written by an agency or some other profession, please don't allow them to blatantly lie on your CV. You'll get caught out. I had a company write me an IT-based CV, and they were saying things such as highly proficient with all database types, with a deep understanding of SQL databases. How do you think I would have got on being called out for that in an interview? Now, there's nothing wrong with saying you've experienced troubleshooting if you fixed a family printer, or you've sorted your internet out at home by logging into your router admin portal and making changes. But allowing them to blatantly make false statements isn't going to look good for you. So at this point, you've secured an IT role, and you could have been there for some time now. But what do you do next? The next thing to do is to focus on your first security-minded certification. Now, the market has a range of certifications. Each one has its own merits. Some are multiple choice based with scenarios, and others are completely scenario based with a mix of questions and labs. There are arguments back and forth about which is best, and to be honest, it's up to your own interpretation. Some are considered entry level, such as a Security Plus, whilst other certs are looked at as more advanced. I would read up on each cert and what it can offer. The certification I went for myself was a CYSA Plus exam from CompTIA. I went through an IT company that offered the cert along with the A+. The CYSA Plus is an intermediary certification. At the time looking for jobs, I felt this certification would open more doors for me than doing an entry level. It was intense coming from a non-IT background to begin with, so soon after completing my A+ exam. With a lot of self-studying, I managed to do it first time. Now if I can do it, I can guarantee almost anyone can do this. My honest opinion would be to go for a cert above entry level, increase your chances of securing that cybersecurity role. When you've made your choice, it's important to note that just because you've got a certification or you're working towards one, that doesn't mean that this will be enough to walk into a job. The first is your own personal or work related project. If at any point you've had to do a presentation or undertaken a project that involves anything cybersecurity related, then record it. For instance, I did a presentation of the OWASP Top 10 to a business I worked for. I then saved it for later use. The second is starting a cybersecurity blog. Write about any cybersecurity tasks, challenges, or anything you've learned in recent times relating to it. You can even put a link to this on your CV. The third is do CTFs or capture the flag challenges, and either write about it or record yourself doing this. Anything that can promote your own self-learning. A lot of the sites on screen have challenge rooms related to cybersecurity. Completing these will provide you with invaluable real-world experience. There's even some challenges where you perform SOC analyst work to complete, and believe it or not, it pretty much mirrors the real thing. There's two things pretty much everyone agrees across the industry that you should learn. The first being is to learn the Linux operating system, or at the very least, learn how to move around the file system and the various commands to do this. Again, the sites previously shown can help with this, but I would recommend creating virtual machines using VirtualBox or VMware Workstation. There's tons of videos on YouTube teaching you how to do this. Now, if you want something to do when you've created your Linux virtual machine, you can go to a website named Over the Wire and play the Bandit war game. This is what taught me to use Linux in the first place. And it's a fun game that you can enjoy, and it doesn't feel like you're just studying. At some point in your career, whether you're on service desk or in a cybersecurity related job, being able to script will help. For instance, you might want to write what we call a KQL query to target, say for instance, a list of users who clicked on a link in an email, or you use it to pull in information to create a report. Now, you don't have to know this or Linux before going for a job, but it will add another string to your bow. The difference when looking for a job is on you. They would expect you to understand cybersecurity frameworks, such as the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and be able to explain what it's used for. They might also provide you with a challenge to solve. Be prepared for curveballs, and as stated before, get used to being uncomfortable. Now, there is one thing I can't stress enough that I've seen people doing that you should never do. I know we all want to be Mr. Robot, but please, if you're going for a job with a company, don't perform vulnerability scans or attacks against the company in the hopes of impressing them. Any such activity without consent from that company is illegal, and I can guarantee they'll be less than impressed with you on the day. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this video has helped you in some way. If you're going for a job or you've got any questions, feel free to post below or contact me on Facebook, Instagram or LinkedIn. Take care, good luck out there. Until next time.